This is the Mazz and Bads Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.
You already know what it is. We back, episode 5, Mazz and Bad Show. Of course, I'm your lovely co-host, Brandon Mazz Marrazzo, joined by the also beautiful Charlito Baduini. Charlie, 5 weeks we've committed. That is 5 episodes recorded. Of course, the first 2 episodes in the same week. We had little vacations going on, but nonetheless, we back, another one. I'm going to be honest with you. Today was the greatest day, and then slowly, little things just started piling up. I mean, not enough USB ports, the most annoying thing ever. I had to sacrifice this lovely webcam just so I can hardwire the internet. I got to go buy an Ethernet hub here. I mean, why don't they just make Ethernet ports for computers? I will never understand on laptops.
My laptop has an Ethernet port.
Well, then HP is bums. All right, be better. Be better. Yeah. And speaking of being better, EA Sports, you said, need to be better.
Yeah, I was going to say, technology has not been on our side today. Has not been on my side all week, thanks to EA Sports. But, Mazz, for you, it's been pretty sweet. NCAA 25, the deluxe edition, people got to start playing it on Monday, right, Mazz? Yourself included?
It's been the most enjoyable experience for a football game since NFL Street when I was a child.
Wow.
All right. It's that good of a game. All right. Defense is a little hard to adjust to real quick, but when you play strong competition, shout out my man Khalil, it makes you better. Dude, you get an athlete, I'm talking scrambling quarterback, star halfback, good wide receiver in open space. You can actually spin. I've hurdled multiple guys already. Like, it is fantastic. It feels like the old, the last NCAA game, like that running style, but advanced. It is the most magical thing I could ever think of. Shout out Kiara for getting me this game. I know most girlfriends out there are already complaining that guys are even playing this right now because obviously they want to go out on actual dates instead of just looking at a caveman stare at a screen. And I can't blame them for that, but she has been awesome through this entire process. I have back-to-back nights up to 3:30 in the morning. I am fully addicted, my friend, and it's bad.
Shout out Kiara hooking up Mazz with the Costco NCAA deal. Got to save some bread there, and it just made everything that much better. That's sweet. Now, Mazz, you are one of the lucky ones who does in fact get to play this game. Me, being a computer gamer, I have you can't see it right now, but my desktop here is situated to my right. I found out this week as I was preparing to purchase NCAA 25 that they're not releasing it on PC. Which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. EA has released every Madden, including the most recent ones, on PC. EA has their own launcher for desktop. If you're not familiar with what a launcher is, it's what you use to launch games through your computer. EA has their own, and they're not releasing NCAA 25 on it. Can someone tell me why? Why are they alienating a part of their player base that doesn't own a next-gen console? I'm trying to give you $70, EA. Let me give you $70. Let me. It's all right. It's okay. It might be for the best in the long run for me that I don't have NCAA. Because then, Mazz, if you're staying up till 3:30, I don't even want to know what I would be doing if I had access to NCAA right now.
The only reason why it hasn't been longer is because I have stuff to do the next day, such as record this podcast or get over to the neighborhood versus neighborhood basketball games I've been calling for NJ Hoop Recruit and All Abilities Live. Thank you for keeping me employed, fellas. Other for that, if it wasn't for that, I think I would just crash while playing the game because I can't, dude. I'm playing the Road to Glory right now. Just took the starting job at Kennesaw State because I decided to start.
Kennesaw State? I was just about to ask what college.
Yeah, Kennesaw State, baby. Had to do that one. Started as a 2-star recruit. Took the starting job as the 3rd string by week 4. So the 3rd game of the season. That's fantastic. Gameplay, I've already said it, absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait to do a dynasty mode. I'm starting with Arkansas State and taking them to as far until I can get a better job offer, but we're starting from the bottom, and we're rising, baby. You already know what it is. The waterfall for Arkansas State's in the game. It's fantastic. Chucky, everything about it. I know I'm like OD like hyping it up right now, but I'm telling you, it is the most magical game experience I've had in quite some time.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I really wanted to take the University of Wyoming up to the next level. I was really I wanted to pull a Josh Allen and I actually exceed Josh Allen and making Wyoming a relevant, top of the line football program. But alas, I will have to wait until if they ever decide they want to release it on a PC. So.
Well,
But
I'll tell you what, buddy. You go get a controller. You come here. You come play this game with me. I got you.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, no. Speaking of a plan, our other plan for our guest today looks like it's kind of fallen through because I think he's locked out of his office to get on here. I want to shout out Ardi Emini. We were supposed to be talking about all the big things in the soccer world, Copa America and security blunders at Hard Rock Stadium. The European... I forget what it's even called right now. What is wrong with me? The European Finals. Is it Europa? It's not Europa. I forget what it's called.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, dude, I cannot believe that I'm blanking on this. You think I actually watch international soccer or not? I promise I do. I'm just completely blanking right now. I know it will come back around, but everything major. And then the fire of Berhalter for USA. So they're getting a new coach after underwhelmingly performing, even though debatable whether that was within his cards or not that he could have controlled it. But nonetheless, shout out Match Week. That's coming back as an awesome soccer podcast. That's on you if you want to check that out. But we were supposed to have a guest here, so he's not here. Maybe he'll make it before the end of the episode. We'll find out. But until then, Chucky, NFL news has been coming, trickling in.
Yeah, a little bit
Nothing
here and there.
great. Some things. I know you're a little disappointed. I'm going to start with not the most major one, but the one that is closest to your heart. Apparently, Davante Adams has had no contact with the Jets. There's been no trade talk with the Jets to get him back with Rodgers. How are you feeling right now?
Well, of course, there's been no contact. I mean, if there was contact, that would be tampering. He's currently under contract with the Raiders. He is not allowed to talk to any other teams or. I mean, I'm sure he's allowed to talk to other players, but they can't really talk about, what situation he wants to be in, what team, all that jazz. But this all really started with last weekend. Aaron Rodgers was captured on the golf course. He was playing some sort of either celebrity or pro amateur golf outing, and someone said to him, "Hey, how do you feel about Davante Adams?" And Rodgers responded, "I love Davante Adams. I can't wait to play with him." Pause. Again. So I would say there's nothing currently right now with the Jets and Davante Adams. We know for a fact that they tried hard to trade for him at the trade deadline last season, but the Raiders were kind of in limbo. That was such a weird. It was like the weekend of the trade deadline. Everyone was like, "Oh, the Raiders are going to sell," because they were circling the drain, and then they held on to all their pieces, made no trades. And then the next day, the coach and GM were fired. So who knows what would have happened last year if maybe Mark Davis had fired those guys a week earlier. Maybe they would have been more open to selling off assets and looking towards the future. But I think Davante is going to be a Raider by the time the season starts. Depending how the Raiders' season progresses, how they play, where they're at going towards the trade deadline, because if you remember, the trade deadline has been pushed back this season. It's going to be an extra week or two, I believe, later than it normally is. If the Raiders are in last place of the AFC West, if they're not really looking at great in terms of playoff positioning, I think you're going to see them sell some assets. And I think, yes, the Jets will make a hard push to trade for Davante Adams and just make sure that their offense is as Nathaniel Hackett proof as possible.
It's already Nathaniel Hackett proof because I don't think he's going to be calling plays. I'm telling you right now. So, first off, thank you for clarifying with the tampering. I wasn't talking about tampering. I meant that the trade between the organizations.
Yeah, sure.
I should have articulated that a little better. My apologies. I'm still so frustrated by the Wi-Fi issues and having to sacrifice this beautiful Logitech camera. I mean, just look at that thing. It's absolutely gorgeous.
It's all right. It'll be back next week, Mazz. It's all good.
It will. So anyway. Talking back with Davante Adams, I think that is a move that if it goes through, you guys are solidified. Just keep Rodgers healthy. That's it. The Jets are getting another one, the first time since, 69?
1969. Yep.
Dude, he's a game changer. And going back with the Raiders, I understand why they wouldn't make the trade, especially if the next day you fired your head coach and your GM, because you trying to start a new regime. If I'm already firing this GM, I have no trust in you, buddy. I'm going to bring in somebody that I can at least trust the package that they're going to get in return for it. So I understand them not trading it, but they're still a team that they're in purgatory right as we speak. I mean, number one running back, former rushing leader, Josh Jacobs, is now in Green Bay. The only two things that I can honestly say that they have going for them is Max Crosby and a wide receiver that may or may not even want to be there in Davante Adams.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're kind of stuck in limbo right now. Like they have some pieces on defense, of course. Like you said, Max Crosby. They brought in Christian Wilkins. The defensive line should be fierce this year. But then on offense, like you said, Mazz, you look over there, you got second-year quarterback Aiden O'Connell, who's probably going to be competing with Gardner Minshew for that starting job, and then Davante Adams. Like, there is no other offensive piece that you could hang your hat on as a Raiders fan. So they would have to be pretty bad, I'd say, to want to offload him, because once they do move Davante, you're basically waving the white flag on the season. Like I don't think they have anything else that would match, the output that Adams can put out.
I just don't think that there's much in the NFL that can match his output. I mean, that guy is a stud. We keep on seeing more and more star wide receivers as they come. Speaking of which, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the emergence of him, apparently played an entire season with a torn oblique. Was that what I saw? Off, like, completely torn off?
I didn't see
Have you
that.
heard about this? Yeah, check that out real quick. Absolutely insane. But in terms of the Raiders, I love that Antonio Pierce is now in command. I hope that guy has a nice long career. I think you need to go rebuild with this guy. Give him a couple of seasons, and he can get you on the right path. And I think it starts with getting a giant package for Davante Adams, personally. Because they're going nowhere. There's nothing that they're going to do right now. I mean, it's not really a free agent hotspot in terms of, if I go there, I'm going to go win. Like, quarterback room is a giant question mark. Yeah, you got Gardner Minshew. Is he going to start? I have no clue. I hate the quarterback room. There's nothing, like you said, on offense. Even the defense, it's like, it's all right. Like, you take Max Crosby out of there, I don't think it's a good defense. It's just his numbers are off the charts. But yeah, I think they need to just stop trying to, sway back and forth, get the best package, hit the reset button, and stop dragging this out.
Imagine the trade package they could get for a guy like Max Crosby, though. Like, how that would be quite the trade bait there. You would get a king's ransom for him.
So I know for Crosby, I don't know if I want to even entertain that, just because that guy wants to be a lifelong Raider. He absolutely loves it there. His production is so crazy, where I'm saying hit the reset button, but that doesn't mean you have to give away all of your crown jewels. I think that's the jewel that you keep. I don't think Adams wants to be there. I think Adams wants to go win, and win now before the sun sets on the career, That's the gem that you need to be looking to ship off and getting the king's ransom back for, in my eyes. And you keep Crosby around as that locker room leader, as the heart and soul of the new Raiders going forward under a new head coach who got me fired up every time I hear him speak at a press conference.
So the thing is I don't even think you're getting a king's ransom for a guy like Davante Adams. At this point, I mean, he's on the wrong side of 30. Not that he doesn't have some great football left in him, but I believe he's 31, 32. But just take a look back to previously this offseason. So the Houston Texans traded for Stephon Diggs from the Bills, and all they got back was the Bills being a 2025 second-round pick and a sixth-round pick in 2024. You know what I mean? And I me personally, I would value Davante Adams higher than Stephon Diggs. So I'm not looking at anything more than maybe a first. or a package of 2s and 3s. You know what I mean?
Sure, but even that, I think, puts you in a right way. And I still think, like, for me, like, that's a king's ransom just in terms of it's going to put you in the right path. It's still a big haul. I think you're going to get more for Stephon Diggs just because, like, I truly believe Buffalo got Stephon Diggs out of there solely because becoming a headache, contract was coming down to, and we had to get something because he was basically so frustrated being up there that he was going to walk regardless, right? Now, when it comes to Davante Adams, not really an injury history. Production, no matter who's at quarterback, I feel like he's an absolute game changer. If I'm the Raiders, I'm looking at it as this is a star piece. This could take you over the top. I have it right now. It's healthy. It's not combative. It will do whatever you need, and I'm getting proper compensation for this.
So let's put our Magic 8-ball caps on for a second. Come November 1st, 2024, what jersey is Davante Adams wearing?
The easy layup answer is absolutely the Jets, just because of the chemistry that goes there, right? But I would hate to say it. Thankfully, it can't be the Chiefs, because there's no way that they're making a trade with them. Thank God, because I know that they would have the cap room to bring him in. I saw a thing last night that they have like 9 2022 draft picks that are going to be playing a significant role for their team this year, so I'm interested to see how that pans out. I'm going to throw an absolute curveball your way.
Okay.
Just because I know they have the receivers, but I think that they're looking to see if they have the quarterback, which I know that they don't, but this would just clear up everything. I think it's still New York. I think the Giants need to make a full-on blitz for Davante Adams. They have wide receiver talent now, but I still don't feel like they have a true number one.
Yeah.
You know, like even who they just drafted, Neighbors. Yeah, I think he's gonna be a stud, but he's still a rookie. I think with the cap space that you're saving from Darren Waller no longer being around, I think that could potentially open you up to bringing in a Davante Adams. Now the question is, on one side, they've already gotten a trade done. They brought in Waller through that. However, it didn't really go their way, so they're now afraid of that. I don't know if that's going to really impact it. I think for a talent like Adams, I don't think it will, but I could see him sadly playing in Big Blue, if not gangrene.
All right, so like you said, saying the Jets is like it's a layup because of the Rodgers connection, because of the smoke from last year. Let me to float this one out there for you, and this also kind of takes us into our next topic, which is Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade from the 49ers. So, what would you think about a Davante Adams Brandon Aiyuk swap between the Raiders and the Niners? Davante, being a California guy himself, would probably like to go back home. I remember when he first went to the Raiders, he was excited about it because they were. I believe his first year was the first year in Vegas, but he was like, I wanted to be an Oakland Raider. That was my team growing up. Brandon Aiyuk, Arizona State guy. His head coach in college was Antonio Pierce. So I think that makes sense for both sides because Davante is more of the win-now piece that the Niners are looking for. He's only got about a year or two left on his contract, so that money will be off the books relatively soon. And the Raiders, a team that is, trending upwards, not exactly ready to contend or compete just yet, brings in Aiyuk, gives him the long-term deal that he's looking for, and they have their number one receiver.
I'd cry, personally.
As a Cowboys fan?
That would just mean that San Francisco will continue to have a stranglehold on the entire NFC like they've had for the past couple of years. The way that they have worked those books is quite spectacular. Of course, having a Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback definitely helps out, but man, if they get rid of Aiyuk just to bring in Adams, I'll cry. I will literally cry. I don't hate it though. The question is, I don't even know what the question is, honestly. It could happen. It could literally happen. There's nothing necessarily stopping that. Man, the only thing is, speaking of Aiyuk, who now has officially requested a trade, I saw, I saw
Which,
the
side note real quick, that we touched on that on the first football episode we did. That this has been going on all summer long. He just finally officially requested a trade because the contract talks have broken off so much.
well, apparently they haven't had a contract talk since back in May. So it's been quite some time. Like, I can't blame him for that. Like, he respectfully, you don't want to talk about money. I want to talk about money. I know what I'm worth. You don't want to pay me. I'm out of here. I saw the Patriots are starting to start lurking around him, and apparently have made some phone calls. Apparently the 49ers aren't even interested. They said that he's not available. Multiple teams have called. I declare shenanigans, though. I could see him leaving. I think he's going to almost pull a help me out here, running back for Indianapolis.
Jonathan Taylor.
Thank you, Jonathan Taylor. I can see him pulling one of those moves and just not showing up for anything until I get my money type thing. I don't think he's going to necessarily sit out the entire season. I think he's just going to cause as much of a headache as possible until you ship him off.
Yeah, I would say usually when those reports come out where a team is like, hey, we are currently not shopping this player, we have no interest in moving him, that typically just means the price that's been offered is not enough yet. In terms of, draft pick compensation or player compensation. I still think, like if you're the Niners and you're talking with a team like the Patriots, I feel like you don't even really want draft picks all that much. Like I feel like your team is ready to make the Super Bowl now. You're trying to win the Super Bowl. If you're trading a guy like Aiyuk, you're probably going to try and lean more towards a win now player like a Davante Adams, like an even kind of swap like that. I think that's more of the direction that the Niners should take, especially if they want to continue contending and making Super Bowl appearances and hopefully maybe even win it one time.
Yeah, I mean, that organization, it's just, although they haven't been able to win the big one, they've come in second place multiple times. They're gearing up for something huge, I think. It's just whether or not Aiyuk's going. I don't think with Aiyuk being there, hasn't worked in years past, so why is it going to work this year? They've been taken out by teams with less talent in terms of the depth around it. I know Patrick Mahomes has been a thorn in the side, but let's be honest, dude. His wide receivers were garbage last year. And the 49ers had the elite defense, and they still lost, right? They have great pieces everywhere, and who was it? Vic Fangio blitz packages is what undoes you? Are you kidding me? Like, man, I think not full rebuild, obviously, nowhere near it. But they're not blow it up, but like a tiny explosion just needs to occur for them. And I think getting a new shiny diamond could absolutely be that. But oh man, if it is Davante Adams, it changes. I think it changes everything. I think he's better than Aiyuk. I think Aiyuk is a great wide receiver,
yeah,
but
for sure.
but there's levels to this. I don't think Aiyuk is at a Davante Adams level personally.
No, he's not there yet. Could he get there one of these years?
Maybe.
Potentially. But yeah, Davante is easily still a top 10 receiver in the league. You really can't say the same about Aiyuk at this very second in time. So in terms of football, just a few more. We have one free agent signing, one re-signing. Jamal Adams, former Seahawk and Jet safety, signed with the Titans on a 1-year prove-it deal for the veteran minimum, $1.1 million. There's an interesting connection there. Jamal Adams' agent, Kevin Connor, represented Titans general manager Ron Carthen during his playing days, and Ron Carthen and Jamal Adams' father Maurice were teammates in the NFL. So I guess some friends made some phone calls. Jamal Adams looking for a job right now. He lands in Tennessee, which continues to be the retirement home of the NFL, as all these former stars somehow always end up in Tennessee when they don't have that star power as much anymore.
That's such like a Tennessee move. It's just like, let's see what he's got left in the tank.
Yeah.
But they're gonna need more. I mean, yeah, I know they just got Tony Pollard, right? Young quarterback in Levis who looked decent at times, but
shown flashes.
I mean, they're not going nowhere. So like, good for them. Go test it out, but it's not going to make or break your season either way. They are what they are.
He also is reuniting with Denard Wilson, who was a Jets defensive backs coach when Jamal Adams was in New York with the Jets. So another reunion there. One last note on the Jamal Adams thing. I think if he wants to continue playing in the NFL and he wants to continue making money and getting longer-term contracts, I think he needs to switch from safety to linebacker.
Hearing these talks, I was going to ask you about that. I think you're right. He's hard hitting, right? He plays more like a linebacker, just in that deep zone more than anything.
He's not good in coverage. He's not.
No, he gets burnt, dude. I don't think he's a good athlete, but he does not have the athleticism to keep up with the modern speed of deep threats in the NFL. Go run stop a little bit. I think you'll be able to cover that east to west. It's that north to south where you're getting hurt.
100%. I really think he would benefit from a position change to the linebacker. And this is coming from a Jets fan who Jets fans and Jamal Adams do not get along very well when he burned his way out of New York. But if he wants to continue playing at a high level and, like I said, continue getting contract to contract, I think making a switch to playing linebacker would benefit him greatly. And Mazz, like you said, him being in the box full time, because even as a safety, I would say 70% of his snaps on the field, he is lined up inside the box anyway. So why not just move there full time? You know,
you got to find a way to prolong your career, right? Like, it's not about, forget the ego. What is going to work best for you? You know, we talk about it always in the NBA. We never really talk about it as much in the NFL because it's once you kind of lose that athleticism, you're kind of caught on an island and it's really hard to get off it, where you have to come to grips with how much longer am I going to hold on? I'm not what I used to be. This is a unique situation where he could get a couple more years out of playing by making that switch, because I still believe that he's good enough to play in the league. I just don't think he's good enough to play the position that he's been playing his entire career. So if you can make that switch, why not do it? Because the more that you wait and hold off on it, the more you're going to decline, and it's just not going to come when you need it to. Make the switch right now, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, and to your point, like if someone says to you in 3 years, hey, you want to try linebacker? Just get started now. Just do it now. Because like you said, you're wasting your precious time in the NFL, the not for long league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
and you don't have to worry about it. I feel like he gets scapegoated a lot. And it's for reasons of his own accord of getting beat. But it's always oh man, if he wasn't back there, we would be all right. Yeah, he's just always out of position. There's never any hope when he's back there, and it's dude, get all that pressure off you right now. You're still going to play the style of football that you've been accustomed to playing, coming downhill, attacking the run, taking anything out over the middle, right? You've already been lined up there. Nothing is changing other than a lot of reward in my eyes and no risk of getting burned over the top.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So, yeah, Titans have a new safety / box player / linebacker / whatever you want to call him. We'll call him a defensive Swiss Army knife. How about that?
Army knife. I don't know if it's a Swiss Army knife,
okay,
personally. This isn't a Christian McCaffrey on the other side. Dude, he's coming for run stopping. I feel at this moment he'll be able to keep up with a tight end that's coming across the middle, or but yeah, I'm not calling it a Swiss Army knife. I appreciate you trying to bolster him up, but he ain't that, brother.
And on that note, I should stop trying to bolster Jamal Adams up, because he does that all himself very well. Moving onwards to Denver Broncos guard Quinn Meinerz. I'm sorry for mispronouncing that. He re-signed with Denver on a 4-year, $80 million contract. He's tied for the third highest paid guard in the NFL. And he deserves it. He started 39 games in the last 3 years, and the only real reason why I wanted to bring this up was just because of how great of a story he has. So he was a Division III athlete. His college didn't even have a pro day, and he got a Senior Bowl invite at the last minute because Landon Dickerson got injured in the national championship game. He showed up and showed out at the Senior Bowl, was drafted in the 3rd round by the Broncos, and now here he is getting his second contract. Tied for third highest paid guard in the NFL. So Shout out Quinn Meinerz. That is the dream, man. Working your way up from the bottom, getting to the top, and getting compensated for it.
Do you have measurements, like height and weight for this guy?
I don't, but I do know they call him the Belly.
Belly?
Yes.
So he's got a great story and a fantastic nickname.
He is
So-
6'3", 320 pounds.
Okay. That's a big boy. That's awesome. If you did not bring this up, I'm not going to lie to you. I would have never have known this information. Why would I care about a lineman on the Broncos other than I hope that they can protect whether it's going to be Zach Wilson or Bo Nix back there, you know. So
Jarrett Stidham maybe even, who knows?
it's not happening, dude. Do you think Stidham even stands a chance in that race?
Probably not. It's Nix and Zach. That's for sure.
You know, the only reason why it's going to be Zach, I think, too, is just because they don't want to throw Bo Nix to the fire yet. But if it's not going to be Zach for that reason, it's absolutely going to be Bo Nix. Let's just, forge it by fire. Those are the only two things that happen. Stidham doesn't stand a chance in my mind. And if he somehow wins that, I'll stop podcasting. I think I might stop podcasting, I'm that confident, and I don't think he's going to end up with the starting job, barring injury, of course, I hope doesn't happen, But yeah, no, what a feel-good story. Kind of reminds me of myself, Charlie, just waiting out there in limbo, waiting for the stars to align, and here you have it. That is what brought me to podcast with you today, my friend, and hopefully will bring me to a nice big contract down the line of doing what I love of calling sports.
Our stars will align someday, Mazz.
You know what? They can support us with it, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But, I'm not one to pressure. But the dream chase continues. Support it while it's hot.
Yeah, speaking of which, if you are watching on YouTube right now, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. Like we said in the beginning, this is the dog days of summer right now. If you've got some sort of question specifically for us, drop it down in the comments, and we will get to it next episode. And we also have a note from someone who watched last week, and we have that coming up.
We do have that coming up, but real quick, it looks like our guest is going to be able to make it with us. Ardi is, in fact, ready. If we could add him to the call, we could get a little soccer talk on in here. So, as promised, we have our first guest ever. We had to talk some soccer. There's only one man that I could possibly think of to walk us through all the information, the one and only, the host of Matchweek and co-host / editor of Pepito's Take, Mr. Ardi Emini, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Hold all the applauses, please. I know. I'm so great. I'm so amazing. Just kidding. Matchweek is currently on the resurgence. It's about to become a full-fledged thing, as you can tell by the sneak peek of the new background of the show. We're going full audio, full video, instead of just radio, so we'll be looking good.
Fun fact, the second podcast ever to give me a platform to share my voice.
That is true. Mazz had some wild takes about wolves most of the time. But, we gave him a home. We gave him somewhere we can nurture him, Papa, I got you. Don't worry about it.
It definitely allowed me to get out into the soccer world, that's for sure. I appreciate you, buddy. How's things going? Of course, I know you're trying to bring back Match Week now. I know you're coaching on the side for women's high school. And I know that you are working with the legend himself, Pepito, and trying to get his podcast up and going, right?
Yeah, it's my life is crazy to say the least. There's days where I don't even see myself in the mirror. But it is what it is. It's a grind. It's what we want to do. It's what I love to do. We have Pepito's Take, which is doing very well. Match Week's been on the back burner, coming back. I have all my club teams. I have my high school girls coming back into swing. So we have a lot of stuff going on.
And on top of all that, you got your own studio set up going in there now, right?
Yes, I have my own official studio. I think Mazz was there when we had the little makeshift one. We tried to do the first spring back, but I didn't like it as much. I didn't think it was homey enough. You know what I mean? Because it was a bit blank. We didn't have that much going on. But here is where we'll have some proper footy talk. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'll tell you, buddy. The first setup looked pretty good, but this now with the excuse me if I'm butchering it, the shikperi, right?
Oh yeah, the shipri. Yeah, so I have the Albanian flags, Red Bulls, MLS. I have a couple of my coaching medals, all the media passes I've done, award shows. My own FIFA card my brother got made for me, which is totally false. Should be 99 and everything besides the point. Besides that, it's a different level. It's me. It's finally me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, buddy, we're happy for you, but let's get right into this. A lot of stuff happening. Big week in the international soccer world. Of course, we had the Euros and Copa America, plus the U.S. firing their head coach. I want to start with the most important one of them all. And let's start with the Euros because it's the bigger competition. I'm sorry, I said what I said. You can at me, whatever. Find me at BigMazz18 on Instagram.
Just be careful, dude. I had a little hot take about it on Pepito's take, and fans were ruthless, to say the least. Ruthless.
Don't get me wrong. I think that they're great competitors in Copa, but if we're talking the level of ball that is being played, it's not even a question for me personally. Ardi, a young Spain team, a stalwart that has come out of nowhere, taking Euros by storm. Walk us through it.
So let's talk about it. The final for England versus Spain was rough to watch because the game prior, right? Everyone hates Southgate. He finally left. Thank God. The guy's a joke. But with the game prior, he actually got some things right tactically, how to make subs, formation-wise, things like that. So what I don't get is when you get things right against also a young team, a great team in Netherlands, you then revert back to what was causing you problems all tournament and what ultimately costed you the game, right? Because the guy is not pragmatic enough. He doesn't adapt. He likes his way only. It's very negative. And the English fans, I know they always die hard for him. Their support for him. Oh, Southgate got us here. Cool. Yeah, what's cool getting to the finals and not winning?
I feel like that's the story for them all the time. Do you think that this is an England team that, by some people's standards, quite frankly, have been underperforming even though they've been in back-to-back Euro finals, just haven't got the job done?
100%. This team should be walking tournaments they play in. Like, you have to understand, the amount of talent they have on that team is, I don't think it's comparable anywhere else, the depth-wise and everything. Even with the players who he miscalled up, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a Man United fan. I don't know if you guys can tell by any chance, but I love Manchester United, right? He tried to call up Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire did the right thing in saying, oh, I'm not fit enough to play for England. I shouldn't go to the tournament. He called up Luke Shaw, and it's hard for a player to say no to a call-up, but he just wasn't ready. And when you have Premier League proven talent who play left back at a high level, why are you not calling them up instead of calling up a 33-year-old Kieran Trippier who plays at right back and then calling up Luke Shaw who's just coming off an injury? That's what doesn't make sense to me either. And also the front line. Everyone talks about Harry Kane. Oh my God, Bayern Munich, everything great. But the way how the team is set up, Harry Kane doesn't work. Because in soccer, we have something called like numbered positions. Like we play the 9, the 10, 11, 7, whatever, right? Harry Kane plays the 9.5. Yes, he's a great forward. Scored like 33-plus goals in the Bundesliga for Bayern or whatever. But he plays as a 9.5. He likes to drop into the 10 spot, play passes in, do all this kind of stuff. And his biggest problem is that he can't do that when you have a Phil Foden for Man City, who was PFA Young Player of the Year, was outrageous with creative numbers, and you have Jude Bellingham, fresh off of playing at Real Madrid, winning a Champions League, winning the La Liga. Like, you have serial winners in this team, so why are you sacrificing the team and how great it can be all for one player? You know what I mean?
So, speaking of that one player, talk to me about that Spain side, man. We saw an emergence of a young dog who they are saying has next. I feel like every time that there's an international tournament, somebody somewhere emerges, but I don't know if I've seen someone rocket to the front of stardom like the young fella has.
You gotta be careful. Spain, England, everywhere. There's young players coming through now where if you're an Mbappe, if you're a Camavinga, if you're an Erling Haaland, be careful. Because there's people who are going to take your spot as number one. Even Vinny. Vinny's had a great year below into your contention. When you have a Lamine Yamal who just turned 17 for that final, do what he did. And then even in England, you have Kobe Mino, who a year prior to this was playing for the Manchester United U18s Academy, I think U21s. He's now gone from that to being a mainstay of the Man United team within 6 months, winning them an FA Cup, being a game changer. Being a game changer at that age is mental. And then now you also had him coming into the England team. Southgate didn't want to play him. Forced to play him, he had no other options, and he became a mainstay at 19 years old. Like, you got to be careful with the youth. Even Spain, Nico Williams is looking electric right now for playing Athletic Bilbao. I mean, look, like, don't get me wrong. I think I spoke upon on this on Pepito's Take. I think just with the La Liga and the English League and the Bundesliga, the quality is going up so much that the youth quality is going up more now as well. Like, we're gonna see a different wave of footballers where obviously they're not gonna have that classical feel of like a Ronaldo, a Messi, a Gareth Bale, a Paul Pogba, whatever. But they're gonna be ballers, 100%.
Charlie, please feel free to jump in at any point. I know he threw a lot of information for someone that's not caught up on the soccer. My man is a football genius, basketball genius, like soccer, just hasn't gotten fully immersed into it. So at any point you need something break down, buddy, feel free to hop in.
That's what I'm here for. Any questions? That's what we're here for. We're here for the casual audience. That's what we're here for.
No, for sure.
Footballing experts are somewhere else, you know.
So one of the things that I've been thinking about since it was announced was, I mean, I don't want to switch topics if we're not done talking about the Euros yet, but I did have a question about the U.S. team's coach and his firing. But if you guys aren't done yet.
Give me 1 second. We'll get right there.
Yeah,
I have
for
two more questions about the Euros with
Yeah.
it right now. Ardi, first off, obviously you see the flag behind me. We don't get to talk about it too often here on this podcast, but I just want to give Pepe his flowers for being his age. He looked like a top 5 defender that entire tournament for me. I mean, shutting down Mbappe one-on-one, I feel like he had no business doing. How unique is it? Do you think that we're seeing in other sports, right? LeBron James getting up there in age. Tom Brady dominated up into age. How unique was it to see a player of his age play up to that level? And do you think that is going to be a stronger occurrence in the sport moving forward?
Well, I think for Pepe, right, he was raised in a true footballing culture where he was taught everything in defensive fundamentals. So with him, and then the growth of sports science to keep your body up. Like, for example, I think the 2 most common positions you'll see players last the longest in their careers is center back and goalkeeper, right? Because, yes, they're taxing, but they're not as taxing as being a midfielder or forward, right? And with those positions, you have to work smarter, not harder. So I think what Pepe did very well for his age is that he put himself in the right position. And it wasn't that he was keeping up with Mbappe in foot races. He gave himself the right angles, right? It's like, for example, like when you have a QB trying to find that run for a wide receiver, right? They're not just dead sprint running. They're making angles to find the right pocket to get into that space, right? And it's the same thing with him when he's defending. There's open space that he knows that Mbappe will beat him in the foot race. So the number one way to eliminate that foot race is to keep him in front of you and control you. That's because at the end of the day, if you're always going to invite a foot race, you're always going to lose.
So how more common do you think it's going to be for guys long lasting with a career?
Oh, more. Like, we've seen people like Zlatan who played to the age of 41. I think Ronaldo's going to go to the next World Cup, especially because he has, like, the fitness center in Saudi Arabia where he just gets to relax, play some soccer here and there, make millions, you know. I think people are learning the ways of creating longevity in their career, especially because, like, back in the day, you only really had till you were maybe 16 if you were luckily started early and professional, till 31, 32 people had to retire because they just didn't know how to take care of their bodies. And now we're seeing that progression, and now we see sports science doing it all across all sports. Like we said at Tom Brady. In a quarterback position, I think that's the one position you're allowed to get older in and get away with it. And even LeBron, he's a freak of nature, but even so, the way how he plays, he's not as aggressive in the way how he moves, but he's still very, very smart.
No, absolutely. Moving over real quick, you mentioned the World Cup, which brings me to, we saw last Euros, Italy wins, misses out on the World Cup. I don't think that's going to happen for Spain. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself. Is anything telling from the Euros and what you think is going to happen at the next major international tournament, which happens to be the World Cup?
Here's the thing. For me, I would say watch out for Germany and Spain, personally. I think Spain's on the right track with who they have in charge and how they're taking care of their players. And Germany, I think they're almost there. They just have lineup issues they need to fix, like forcing a Kai Havertz down our throat instead of starting a Fulkrug at 9. I mean, Toni Kroos being gone, I think allows more freedom for some of these players as well, which don't get me wrong, if you give me a chance to have Toni Kroos on a team, I'll take it. No one can say no. But I think allowing him to finally depart and give that team the space it needs, I think will allow for the proper rebuild that they need, and even at Portugal, like Portugal coming up, like, yeah, this tournament was a bit wishy-washy, and I think that's just, again, down to the lineup. I just don't think the right players were starting. Whether it was your João Cancelo's not staying in the full time, a Diego Dallo not getting a mention, even like a Vitinha starting every game, I don't think he's good enough in that midfield. When you have a Bernardo Silva, when you have a Bruno, when you have a Ruben Neves, even when you have a João Neves coming up, who's 19 and looks better than him already. Like, you know what I mean? I think a lot of these teams have a lot of talent. They just have to find a way to let their egos go about the manager if I want to play this and just be more pragmatic to what you have.
You're going to have to get me on Match Week to talk more about that Portugal team and lineup. I got to disagree with you with Vitinha, but we do not have enough time to
I know, but
I will hijack this whole episode, my friend.
No. I know. I was making a point of the fact that like a lot of these teams have players who are good tools for your tool belt to diffuse a certain games. But if we're talking about a game and a team that needs to be back to back to back, I think his skill set's different, right? I think every player's skill set is different in what they can do. And then also, I mean, Albania, we qualified for our second Euros ever.
Congratulations.
We got put in the group of death. Explain that to me. Explain how we got put up against Spain, who ended up winning it, Croatia, who made it far, and Italy. Like, I can't. We made history. We scored in the first 22 seconds of a match. I'll take it. There's something I can take from it,
So you're saying, second time ever they're in the Euros. I'm sorry. I'm trying to word it properly in my brain because I don't talk about this very often. And they got put into a group with the last team that won and then two powerhouses essentially.
Yes.
That's just mean. Why would they do that?
Exactly. Thank you. Like if you had put us in the same group as England, I swear to God we would have made it through, no problem. Like it's a Slovenia and a Serbia. Come on, man, get out of here.
I mean, listen, I'm just going to be honest. I feel like Portugal, every draw is just on the wrong side of the bracket, and England gets a lucky break every time. Don't even get me started, because once again, I will hijack this episode.
Well, no, but that's the point, though. England should have done better. Like, again, sure. The talent they had, the road they had to the final, their toughest game was Switzerland, and Switzerland, I don't want to say unlucky, because I feel like unlucky is an improperly used term, but I feel like they were unfortunate in some things that happened, especially in the build-up to the game as well, where they should have 100% won it with how England played. Now, granted, if England had done better lineup-wise and even individual performances, because I think their biggest problem is that they rely too much on the performance of individuals,
Speaking of relying too much on individuals and mismanaging tactics, I want to move over to Charlie's question for you. Of course, we've seen the U.S. have a big mix-up, completely clean slate when it comes to head coach. Berhalter no longer there anymore. Was this the right move, or are we just missing something? I feel like there's been a lot of pressure on this USA team with guys like Pulisic, right? Like Gio Reyna, like a bunch of talent that we've seen, Musa, where have you. Is this team needing a new manager, or was this a bad firing for you?
So Allah answered my prayers when they fired Berhalter. I'll just start with that. I was very, very happy, finally being rewarded. But no, I spoke about this a lot on Pepito's Take, so, I mean, I don't want to keep drilling into people's heads, so if you want to hear more of that, by all means, check out there. But I will just say that the main point I made was that everything that happens within a team, it's 49% on the players, 51% on the manager. And the problem is Berhalter never put the team in the right place to succeed at all. He didn't. Because the guy wasn't pragmatic enough. He had his set team of players he wanted. He doesn't really have a system. Like, at the end of the day, I know people don't want to keep blaming the manager, but at the end of the day, the U.S. hasn't had a good manager since Jurgen Klinsmann, in my opinion. That was the last time we ever saw someone trying to build a proper footballing structure and trying to build a system with even more subpar players than we have now. You know what I mean? Because I think the only guy who I can consider a role player in the team is a Pulisic. And I think more of them have to grow in where they are. I mean, Anthony Robinson I consider a big-time player as well, because for Fulham he's been a sensational left back. You can't talk anything bad about him. Matt Turner playing for Nottingham Forest, Arsenal proved his worth. I think everywhere else in the field, there's still more that has to be done to show that they are contenders and that they're good enough to be where they are.
So my question would be, going off that, is why did it take so long for him to get fired? Because obviously he's been the coach since 2018.
I mean, he was let go in between. Just to clarify, he was let go in between, and then they brought him back for some reason. But just to give that point,
which makes it even more interesting.
Exactly.
Why, that's just like a lot of like roundabout way of just like having him be the coach. But I do got to shout out a fellow New Jersey guy. I did not know that. I'm looking at his information now from Englewood. But yeah, so what was it that took so long? Because I feel like literally since like the previous major tournament, the one before that, it's this guy's got to go. Oh, this guy's the problem. So like what was the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess you could say, or what was it that was keeping him around?
Do you want me to give the nice way of saying it, or be brutally honest?
No, we keep it raw, rugged 100 here, buddy. Give it the most brutally honest one.
The U.S., I think, is a bat because they're so blind right now. They don't understand what a managerial talent is for the national team level. And they undersell themselves because they don't believe they could bring in a proper coach. Like when you have a Jesse Marsh who took over for Canada and brought them as far as they did with, I think, a lesser team than what we have. When you have people who are available, like how is Marcelo Bielsa going to coach for Uruguay, and how are we not scooping him up for the United States? Like there's so many managers who get let go at the club level who just want a comfy job and who want to do more, and yet we're not giving them chances. I think that's the biggest problem here. We don't know how to recruit on a managerial level. I think we try to just keep it in-house. I think there's too much politics go on with the U.S. national team. They try to keep it as like, oh, Berhalter's here. We've worked with him with this. Bring him in here. Oh, we've had this guy in Bruce Arena. He's done this. Boom. I think we have to start adapting the model that we don't know football. It's just plain and simple. Like, we're too young of a nation to say that we know more than everyone else, that we can trust an American, bar, I think, Jesse Marsh. I think Jesse Marsh has proven himself tenfold with the dominance he had with New York Red Bulls, going over to, I think it was Austria, where he was coaching RB Salzburg, then with Leipzig, and then going to Leeds. Like, the man has gone all over Europe to prove himself. So he's adopted the European way of how to coach. Even as a South American, you need to bring people where football has been a thing for centuries. Not somebody who, back in '94, decided to pick up a soccer ball and decide to coach. Like, no, but seriously, I think that's the issue. Like, when you hire for a basketball team, right? When they brought in people, like, you know, who were sort of proven on the college level but weren't too sure about that, or when they brought in prior players where I think it was, what's his name? I'm blanking. He was on the Bulls with Jordan. He coached, like, Golden State and the Nets. Mazz.
Steve Kerr?
Yeah, Steve Kerr. Like, when you bring someone in like him, he's someone who was a serial winner, knew how to be a role player in the team, and he knew the sport well. He was very smart. I think that's the issue we have here, is that we bring people who don't have any professional background. We bring people who aren't proven enough to be an international manager. And we just underestimate our selling point. Like, we have the biggest player pool to pick from. We talk about New Jersey, right? New Jersey has the same population size as England. So if you're telling me that England, who have to deal with people playing like cricket and like rugby and all this kind of stuff, like, yeah, granted, those aren't number one sports. But if you're telling me that if we have a population of 350 million and you divide that by 2, we have like, what, 125 million of like men and stuff. You're telling me that for the men's national team, we can't find players where, yeah, like soccer isn't their primary sport, but we can't recruit and build up more? Like, I think that's just the bigger overall issue here. It's just the way how we run it and the way how we're set up.
So, you talked about experience. You talked about being world-traveled, tested, and tried. There's been rumors of Jurgen Klopp and Pochettino being linked to the U.S. men's national team job. Is there any smoke with that fire at all? Or is it just, you know, vapor going through the skies?
I think it's a possibility. Like, I think it's a huge, huge possibility. The only issue is that the United States men's national team headquarters is in Kansas City, and it's hard to sell at Kansas City. Oh, do you want to go to flat land in the middle of nowhere and have nothing to do? Like, I think genuinely, if we move the headquarters to like in Miami, where you can convince the coach, hey, you'll have nice weather all season, beautiful fields, maybe go watch Messi on the weekend if you want. No, but you know what I mean? Like, if we have those kind. We have to make exactly. We have to make ourselves more marketable. It's the same thing when you're a club in anywhere else. Like a lot of players going to play for Como FC in Italy because they just came up from the Serie B and they can live in Lake Como while playing professional soccer. They'll take the wage reduction. They don't care. They get to live in the nicest place on earth. Like what? Like come on.
Any reason to why? Like I'm gonna be honest. I had no clue that's where the headquarters was. Any reason why it's there and why we haven't moved it yet?
Because Kansas City was like the original like home for soccer in the U.S. That was where it was the biggest draw, and also with all that land, you could build so much facilities there. But even now, I think like for example, Red Bulls with their new expansion of their new facility, they're moving out. I think now there's a way to find space, buy space, and make yourself more marketable, and use that as one of like your secondary hubs, or whether it's your coaching, education, or whatever, you know.
So again, looking forward down the line to the next time that we're really going to care about U.S. men's soccer would be the World Cup. What is it going to take for this team to make a serious push with the talent that they have? Is it just the managerial change, or what else do we need to see happen?
The managerial change will bring a culture change in what we need, but I think we just look. I can't say we don't have the talent to do it because we did it in 2014 with Tim Howard making 16 saves against Belgium. Right? So there's a possibility always in who you have as a manager and the players that you have. I think it's just we have to reinstate a culture where like stuff like what Timothy Weah did to get the red card, which I understand it's the heat of the moment. You're frustrated. You don't like the manager. You don't like what the national team's doing or where the path it's going. But you have to be able to adjust and make a difference. And I don't think that we can do that within a 2-year span. Honestly, if we're going to see ourselves as proper World Cup contenders, we got to wait probably another decade or two. To be on the level of all these other nations, we got to wait.
That one hurt a bit. I'm not going to lie to hear that reality, but I appreciate your brute honesty. Speaking of a culture change, right? We've seen Ronaldo change the culture of Saudi. We've seen Messi have an impact. The only thing I can think of similar to is Pele coming to the United States, playing for Inter Miami. And speaking of Miami, we just had the Copa America final be played there. First off, what happened with the security issues? That was... I used to work former security, as you know, at MetLife Stadium. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Any inside news on that, buddy?
I wish I could tell you. The only thing I could tell you is that the CONMEBOL Federation, who's like, you know, the way how it is, like FIFA's the head organization up top, right? You have like UEFA, CONMEBOL, the I forgot the name for the Asian one, and the AFCON and stuff like that. So these regions, right? I think CONMEBOL is the worst at organizing tournaments. Like they really are, because I think they underestimate what the turnout will be and stuff like that. I think for where you are for a final, it doesn't matter who's organizing. There's no excuse for what happened to happen, right? I think as fans, we should be worried then what's going to happen in 2026 when we're going to have the World Cup, which is even higher intensity. It's just, I think it's just poor mismanagement. There's not much to get out because there's not much going out because people are hiding a lot because they don't want to admit fault. But I wish I had more information.
So apparently it was reported that the guy that's in charge of during their NFL day operations gave a strategic plan and they threw it to the wayside. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it's just, again, people who think they know more, who think, I think they suffer from the syndrome of thinking they're the smartest person in the room.
So, sticking with, of course, the Copa America final, we have seen Argentina go back to back to back in a dominance effort. I mean, I got to give it applause. I'm not playing Lautaro Martinez until the 90th plus minute was absolutely masterclass. He comes in full of energy, takes down a tough Colombian team, but I think they were just out there for way too long, man. There was no sub they could really go to save them.
Yeah, it hurt me because, like, I hate Argentina for the fact because Messi's on it, but you have two of my favorite Man United players on there with Alejandro Garnacho and Lisandro Martinez who killed it this tournament. And it's also the fact of that, like, Colombia was so good as a team. I think that's the bigger thing is that, like, what annoys me about Argentina is that they focus so much on one individual doing the job. Whereas with Colombia, like, yeah, sure, James was in the headlines, but he was a facilitator. He was helping everyone grow and do what they had to do in the game, which is why I preferred Colombia. I wish Colombia had won it. But just at the end of the day, it's like a small, like not smaller. I can't say they're a smaller nation, but I think a smaller footballing team in comparison to Argentina, who's always been a powerhouse. I think it's always a tough challenge, but it's sort of like a David versus Goliath type scenario.
And speaking of a David turned Goliath, Angel Di Maria,
Yes.
last ever internet. I think he's done. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the career ended right there, or just international career.
So it was supposed to be career ended there, but now I think he's signed for a club. I forgot which one off the top of my head. But his international career is done, which kudos to him. I think Argentina wouldn't have done what they've done all these years without him personally. I think he was more important for them than Messi or anyone else. But no, I think Di Maria is probably one of the most like underrated footballers that you'll ever see play the game. 110%.
The internet's gonna hate you for that one, but I kind of see what you're saying. Not to take anything away from Messi, I truly believe he's the second greatest footballer in the history of the entire sport.
100%.
Right, and that's just because I prefer a style play difference. I know a lot of people prefer a facilitator. I prefer a guy who's taken over, leading the charge. And yes, I am half Portuguese, so I guess there's a bias there. But nonetheless, I do believe that Angel Di Maria has been the crucial piece of this entire run. I feel like he just comes up in the clutchest of moments, putting in balls from the wing, scoring when needed. I mean, he has resurrected Argentina, I feel like, and I don't think it's going to be the same without him.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, 100%. I think the only player that could possibly meet up to that level is a Garnacho. Because, look, I'm just going to say it. Every player that's idolized Cristiano Ronaldo, look where they are now in the game. Garnacho scoring overhead kicks for United, winning FA Cups, Carabao Cups, doing what he's doing at a young age. We have Vinny on the same path and all that kind of stuff. I'm telling you. Just wait.
Mbappe, too.
Yeah, exactly. Just wait. You're going to see the Ronaldo effect still be in play after he's retired.
So now with talk about like the effects, right? Toni Kroos and Angel Di Maria are definitely two names that have shaped how soccer is played today. Talk about their impact, and then I want you to get into any favorite moments that you have for these two greats that one we will never see again and one we will only see at the club level.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, Angel Di Maria, there's so many good moments, man. I mean, you have moments for him at Real Madrid. You actually have a moment for him at Man United with a couple goals he scored, and especially at Anfield where he assisted Juan Mata to score that scissor kick, which was insane. I mean, like, you have two footballers who've had legendary careers. I think Di Maria stiffed a little more because he should have been at Madrid longer instead of being forced out for James Rodriguez. But even so, like, Toni Kroos won 3 Champions League back-to-back. I think he has 7 under his belt. He has 6 at Real, then 1 at Bayern Munich. So it shows he doesn't just win it at one club. He's won it at numerous type of clubs, you know? And then if there's a way to explain the impact of Toni Kroos in like one word, there isn't. Because he's that great. Even at Di Maria, what he did at PSG with him, Zlatan, and Cavani. Again, at Real Madrid, that Ronaldo connection, it was just immense. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be the game lost. I think it's going to be a while for us to find players like that will love the same, but maybe we won't ever. So,
Charlie, I got a story for you, man. Toni Kroos is one of the greatest center midfielders of all time, right? Passes, long balls, you name it. He is of German. He's a German national, obviously of German descent, from Germany. Was playing for the biggest club in Germany, in Bayern Munich, where he was told nobody will pay for him to see him play soccer, that he's basically not good enough to be a starter for this squad. So he goes, tests the market, ends up at Real Madrid, and goes on one of the greatest tears in a midfield you've ever seen. That's a story, my friend. There will be a movie about it, I'm sure, through Netflix.
Oh, 100%. Like, that midfield trio of Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro. Even before Casemiro was a mainstay, you had Kroos, Modric, and either Isco or James. Like, insane. That's all I can say. Insane.
Absolutely wild, Charlie.
Put it in football terms for me.
The only way that I could legitimately hit you with it is, God, who's even like left and revital? Drew Brees. Drew Brees is the only thing I could truly think about of starting somewhere, not being good enough, although there was injury history. There wasn't really injury history, but that's like the closest thing I could get to. And then going on to be maybe not the greatest of all time, but definitely a legend of the sport and an absolute fan favorite.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You know, and even more dominating so. I mean, winning 3 back-to-back Champions League, absolutely ridiculous. And I'm pretty sure was on the World Cup team, right?
Yeah, he won it in 2014.
Thank you. You know, I mean, just accomplished everything there is to accomplish, man. Absolutely phenomenal. Ardi, one last question for you here, buddy. I absolutely appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You know, what is next for Ardi Emini?
What is next for Ardi Emini? Right now, I'm prepping my high school girls. You know, we're trying to bounce off a positive season for them. Just for context, they had before I took over. They hadn't qualified for states in over 7 years. They were 0-18, I think, for 6 years straight. So it was a team that was down and about, private school, people underestimated, and it would have been a greater season than what it ended up to be, just because a whole bunch of injuries. I think we only had 17 players. 5 to 6 injured at a time throughout the season, so having to makeshift back lines and figure things out. To now, we have a 22-girl roster. We're hoping to improve from our 4-16. We're gonna hopefully qualify for states back-to-back years. And I'm not gonna lie, this might be the delusional optimist talking to me, but we might be making it to the states final. I don't know. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it this year.
Hell yeah, man.
We wish you the best of luck with that, but talk to me about your media endeavors, man. When can we expect the next episode of Match Week to make its triumphant return, and what's next with Pepito's Take?
So Match Week, I think within the next couple weeks or so, we are dropping the 25 episode back catalog that was post World Cup. So if you want some random jargon to listen to in the background, by all means, have fun. And Pepito's Take, we're going for at least once a week or once bi-weekly. And that show is fun. You get to hear the opinion of an ex-professional soccer player who's played for Manchester United, Villarreal, Fiorentina, Genoa, Real Salt Lake. Someone where, listen to this, on their debut, subbed off a legendary striker in Ruud van Nistelrooy and scored on his debut instantly. Like, you get to hear from a cool guy who we usually are in disagreement a lot because he's a professional, you know what I'm saying? But no, like all jokes aside, I think it's a fun conversation. Not as fun as having me, Mazz, and Charlie, but you know, it's fun. But no, Pepito's Take is a lot of fun. We give every harsh opinion possible. We don't hold back. And yeah, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever you prefer to listen to podcasts. But YouTube, because you get to see my beautiful face and, you know, his as well. But you know what I'm saying?
That's for both Match Week and Pepito's Take on all platforms, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm gonna throw those links in the YouTube description as well when this baby goes up. So
Thank you.
Buddy, thank you so much for taking the time. We wish you the best of luck in the endeavors. I'm sure I'll be seeing you either back on this show or on Match Week down the line. I love you, buddy, and thank you very much.
Thank you,
Of course, guys,
Ardi.
thanks for having me. I'm always here for you if you need me.
Our football expert.
Exactly.
Football expert.
Once again, thank you to Ardi of Matchweek. And what was the other show called?
Pepito's Take.
Pepito's Take. A lot of great insight there on not only the U.S. men's soccer program, but Copa America and the Euros. Fantastic stuff. And
Yeah.
I feel smarter from that conversation, even though I didn't have much to contribute and add. But I was just doing my best sponge impression and soaking it all in, all the information.
You were fantastic, buddy. Don't worry. I love seeing you in that environment because your natural curiosity just shines through. Fun fact, dude. Like I said, second guy to ever give me a platform. I believe I was his second guest ever on the show. And last time I checked, I believe I have the most appearances on Match Week. Now, the back catalog is out there. I don't know if I've been overtaken, but at the time of my knowledge, I have the most appearances all time as a guest on Match Week.
We'll say at the time of this recording, subtracting those backlogs, Mazz is the number 2 most heard guest of that show.
Number 1 guest, number 2 voice behind Ardi.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
sir. Yes, sir. Listen, dude, we got great stuff coming. More guests, some baseball experts, some fantasy experts.
For sure.
I can't wait to get some hockey experts. Even I cannot wait to get the plethora of the gang out here and start this cross collaborating. But we are not done yet, as it is time to move over to the basketball segment as we round out this show, buddy. What do you got for me?
Yeah, we have a little bit of hoops to get through. I mean, most of the main moves have already gone down in the previous weeks, but there's still some movement out there. First things first, we'll touch on Team USA. So initially, it seemed Kawhi Leonard pulled himself off of the Olympic roster, but in the days since, the Clippers put out some words about it. Kawhi hasn't said anything, but it seems like they just weren't comfortable with where he's at with his injury that caused him to miss the Clippers playoff run. So he's off Team USA. He was part of the scrimmages, and Derrick White of the Boston Celtics is in. There was some confusion there. Some people thought Jalen Brown deserved it as the reigning Finals MVP and a great two-way player himself. I guess Steve Kerr and the minds that be over at USA Basketball felt that Derrick White would be a better fit with this Team USA squad.
So first, let's go with the fit. I don't know what we're thinking here. Derrick White is a great player, but you go with the best available player, man. Like, I don't want to hear about fit. All right, this is USA Basketball. You get the best available, you put them on that court, and we see some of the most fun basketball you ever see played while competing in a dominant fashion. I am glad to see big names back on the team and not having a mix shaped of, B+ players and B players of the league making up the team. This is what I want to see, the very best going at it. And I do think that Jalen Brown not being on it, if it's because he didn't want to compete for it, that's one thing, and he's entitled to that. If he was snubbed like it looks like he was, I don't know what we're doing here. Derrick White's a hell of a player, but there's levels to this, and we are talking about an A+ compared to a B+. Just puts in great effort. Yeah, you could go with style, this and that. I'm sorry, dude. There's nothing on a basketball court that Derrick White can do for me that Jalen Brown can't either do better, or the places where Derrick White is better, it's not a big difference from Jalen Brown, in my personal opinion. I know that three-point shooting is way better, sure, but don't act like Jalen Brown doesn't have a shot.
Yeah, and we're also talking about the guy who gave Luka and Kyrie as much hell as he could during the finals and did a damn good job of it. Not to get conspiratorial, but there was some thought that maybe Jalen Brown in the past has spoken out against Nike for some things that they've done. We won't get too specific here because we don't want to get too into the weeds of politics and Nike and whatnot. But there was some theorization that guys like Jalen Brown, Kyrie Irving were left off of that roster because of things that they have said in the past about the Nike Corporation.
Which just makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, we've seen Michael Jordan cover up a sponsor with an American flag while looking very patriotic, but we know what he was really doing, So it's like, dude, I mean, that's just ridiculous. But hey, I guess that's how the cookie crumbles and the world goes around, right? I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, now, it is what it is. Like, I mean, it's not even like Derrick White's going to be playing, big minutes for Team USA. He's going to be the, 10th, 11th, 9th guy off the bench.
I just think taking that opportunity away from somebody that, once again, no disrespect to Derrick White, is far more deserving. There's levels to this talent thing. And don't get me wrong, once again, Derrick White would snap my ankles every time out of a trillion times if we played. But that's why I'm on a mic and he's on a basketball court. And I'm sorry, Jalen Brown's the better player. I think better defense, better star, better number one option in terms of giving him the ball, let him go to work. I think Derrick White, again, is the better three-point shooter, but it's not that big of a discrepancy for me. That defense, probably the same level. I think Jalen Brown's definitely more athletic, so he gets that nod for me. I don't like it, but it is what it is. And moving over.
Maybe last note, maybe that's it right there, is they didn't want to have another guy who needs the ball in his hands. Like Derrick White's an off-ball player, catch and shoot. Maybe that's what they felt they needed more than another primary ball handler, potentially.
I digress, but you know me. Get the best out there. We want to see the absolute best go after it. I'm not looking for style fits. you're made up of NBA players of the highest caliber. We have legends back on this team. We want to see the best available. Just go out there and play organized chaos, you know.
And who better than the reigning Finals MVP, right?
Yeah,
But
you know.
like you said, Mazz, moving onwards.
With Kawhi Leonard, I do not blame the Clippers whatsoever. I know I give the Clippers a lot of hell on every platform that I'm on because I am a diehard Lakers fan, right? I will give flowers where it is due, like I have with their owner, who I wish was the owner of the Lakers. This is a good move for them. I'm sorry. Kawhi has not played a full season since he's been with the Clippers. I don't know if he's ever played a full season of 82 games ever, and he has not. All right. The injuries, though, you look at since he's been with the Clippers since 2019, 2020, 57 games. Next year, 52 games. The next year, 52 games. And now the most games ever played, 68 this last season with them. You have to protect this guy. There's no reason why he should be playing more basketball than he needs to, especially in a high competitive setting like the international scene. I understand that he wants to contribute. I understand that he wants to go out there and obtain glory, but, buddy, you have an obligation to this club first, I feel like, because they pay the bills for you. And if they want to shut you down, which is what I fully believed happened, I don't think Kawhi wanted to walk away. I think they shut him down. I think they have every right to do so, and they have to protect the investment that they have literally wagered a future on, and it has not been working out for them.
Fair enough. And, yeah, like you said, Mazz, it's probably for the best for Kawhi if he wants to try and be healthy for the 24-25 season. But the biggest news of the NBA cycle this past week, which was massive for a Knicks fan like myself, Jalen Brunson signed his extension with the Knicks. He signed a 4-year, $156.5 million extension. But that's not just the end of it. Like that's the extension right there. But Jalen Brunson did the Knicks organization and the city of New York a massive favor. He signed this contract this summer for that number. If he had waited until next summer, when he would also have been eligible for an extension, he could have signed a 5-year, $270 million deal. He essentially forfeited $113 million, so the Knicks could stay flexible under the salary cap aprons and continue being able to be active on the trade market. And it's just unbelievable to me that in the past 2 summers, I've had the 2 superstars of my teams take these historic pay cuts. Last summer, I had Aaron Rodgers drop down from his $60 million cap hit all the way down to $35 for the Jets. And now this summer, I have Jalen Brunson taking a $113 million pay cut so he can play with his college buddies in New York. It's just absolutely unheard of. And for the Knicks, this is fantastic news because now they don't have to stop with the roster tinkering in ways that other teams have to because they're over a certain threshold in the salary cap. The Knicks now have plenty of space, plenty of time, plenty of wiggle room to make even more moves to put them over the top.
This is high IQ business for me all day long, right? We've talked about this before. You're not in a small market. You are the face of a marquee franchise, although been having winning struggles lately. They always have a great fan turnout. The team makes a ton of money every season, regardless of how it goes. Winning breathes money. All right, that's just what it comes down to. The more you win, the more you make money. More fans come, more concessions. They don't really make money off of parking, but if they did, that would have it too, you know. But it just breeds everything. Merchandise goes through the roof. I think Jalen Brunson is seeing, I take this small pay cut right now, I'm going to see more of it down the line. I'm going to make more money off of basketball than off of my original contract if I win a championship for the Knicks. The off-the-court things that are going to be coming his way, that are already coming his way, is going to be massive. He is not only a cult hero for a giant market team, he is a bona fide star, right? Everybody wants to be a part of the Jalen Brunson story. Who can blame them? That guy plays exactly how we wish all of our favorite players play. That guy is making the moves that we wish our star players would make every single time. I cannot give this guy enough flowers. We thought that contract was horrible. I've said it in weeks past, episodes past, what have you. This is the greatest thing that has ever happened to the Knicks, honestly. It started with, again, I will say it started with Julius Randle. It went up to a new level when Jalen Brunson came to it. He's the gift that keeps on giving. This is what I wish Dak Prescott would do. This is what I would wish other stars of the NBA that are truly looking to win championships would do. It's not about getting the biggest number, all right? It's about having the biggest accomplishments, especially when you have those off-court opportunities. He's prioritizing winning because he knows it's going to come back to him full-fledged off the court. And I cannot say, like, he's doing everything right for this organization. I wanted to touch on one thing for USA Basketball. I wish Anthony Davis would start thinking like this. He shouldn't be playing for Team USA, even though he's a fantastic fit for them. You got to give back to the Lakers more before you can prioritize that. Serving your country is probably one of the top things you will ever do in your life. I hear you. But, buddy, you got to be team first because that's who pays the bills. All right? Now, yes, guaranteed contract, you're going to get all that, but you got to protect that investment, man. Jalen Brunson is a guy who, that's what should be on Team USA. That's what you should be putting all your stock on anywhere that he goes. And if he wants to do some off-court endeavors, he's proven that he can handle the load and he deserves to be there because he's awesome at everything that he does. I don't even care if I sound like I'm glazing him. He deserves it.
He absolutely does because this is the largest pay cut ever taken in North American. I mean, I just said North American. It could be like in the world. I don't know if any athlete has turned down $113 million before. That is massive right there. The only thing I will say, and I'll go to the devil's advocate side of this, is now you're gonna have guys who are you're gonna have players who are looking to sign max extension contracts like that. And the owners are going to be able to say, hey, how come you can't do a Jalen Brunson for us? How come you can't take a pay cut to give us some more flexibility and maneuverability? And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It's just it might put some other players,
An uncomfortable situation?
Yes, exactly. Because the owner will be saying, but look at what Jalen Brunson did for the Knicks. You know what I mean?
I will turn around and say, that's where you got to put the ego aside and be like, dude, listen, I don't have the marketability that Jalen Brunson has. I'm not a cult hero. I'm a great player. All right? I'm not looking to make money off the court necessarily. I'm looking to make money through my services because that's my biggest commodity is look at OG Anunoby. No matter how much you love OG, all right, his money is on the court. He is a good player. He is a great fit for your team. He's not going to be making money off the court like a Jalen Brunson. It's just not happening. The marketability's not there. The star power is not there. So, yeah, you could try and levy that against me. I think for the Knicks, it might have jammed up some other guys, but hey, you're in win now mode. You should be looking to get that championship because once again, you win that championship, another team's going to overpay you just for being a part of the run and being an integral part in that machine. Everybody thinks I just need one cog. I steal that cog. I put it into my machine. I might have to overpay a little bit for it, but I think that can take me to the next level. We see all the time people pick up, I don't want to say scraps, but pick pieces from a winning organization off a championship squad, and we're going to overpay to get that over here. Hopefully it will have the same effect, right? So, great for the organization. Taking those pay cuts, if you have the squad like they have the squad right now, it's worth taking those pay cuts. It's going to give you longevity everywhere else because people want to invest in winners.
Shout out Jalen Brunson, New York folk hero already with 2 memorable playoff runs under his belt and hopefully a lot more to come, I say as a Knicks fan. And the Knicks, by the way, already did put some of that extra salary cap to use. They picked up Cam Payne on a 1-year deal, some guard depth there in the Garden. You like that?
Oh, that was good.
Was it good or was it was kind of bad?
It kind of took me off guard. I didn't get it for like a second, and then like as it was going over the head, it just zinged right back in and went, oh, that I'll give you kudos. It was a dad moment, but I'm happy that it happened. And Campaign's gonna be a good fit for that. I mean, he is scrappy. He gets after it. He has that, like, although he's not one of those Nova guys. As far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure he's not a Nova guy. But he fits that mold of let's get after it and we're going to claw for every inch, give up nothing. Tibbs is going to love him being a part of that depth. I'm not sure how much he'll see the court, really, but we'll see. If he needs to, it's a perfect move for it. And a guy that could have been a perfect fit for it in terms of that scrappiness, Pat Bev is playing over in Israel. I don't know if you knew that.
I did see that. He turned down offers from the Pistons and the Rockets, I believe, to go play overseas in Israel. Which
apparently it was a Godfather offer. I don't know if they have details on that online.
I think they're giving him $2 million, which is like I think $750,000 more than the NBA veteran minimum. So he's making more money.
Well, this is a guy that, hey, the money opportunities are limited. It is to basketball. He goes over there. He could very well end up being the best player in the league and prolonging the longevity. Again, smart money business moves. Speaking of prolonging, I just added something for you. I believe Kemba Walker has called it quits, right?
He retired, yeah, and he's now a member of the Charlotte Hornets coaching staff.
Good for him. I hope he has a good impact there. Dude, what a player, honestly. But moving on.
The only other major player signing was the Bucks picking up Gary Trent Jr., their first acquisition of the free agency period, which, I mean, their team wasn't terrible last year. I don't think they lost anybody besides Malik Beasley of notice, but GTR is a good fill-in spot for him. When I saw the news of his signing, I did see a stat someone put underneath, like the news. He is one of 4 players to have 500 made threes and 300 steals since 2021. That grouping including Ant Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, and Fred VanVleet. So
I actually think it's probably a better move for them, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, he's put up better stats than Malik Beasley. It's not one that is, again, moving the needle all the way, but it's just, I think they just got a tick better personally.
Definitely an upgrade over Malik Beasley, but that's also a nice transition into our last topic of the day. This was given to you by a friend.
I got you right now. Yeah. So a fan of the show and a friend of mine. I want to shout out Tony Miller, who we asked for people to give us ideas. He had a perfect idea. He wants to know who you would rather start a franchise with: the young up-and-coming dog, Anthony Edwards, or the star who's been in some weird light lately, Jayson Tatum.
Do you want to take that first, or you want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
Okay. I'm going with Anthony Edwards, and I'll tell you why. I'm not saying that Jayson Tatum isn't a foundational building block piece that you can start with, because he is. He's a fantastic talent, a top 10 player in the NBA. But we've never seen him get it out of the mud himself. You know what I mean? And that's not his fault. That's nothing against him as a player. But we've never seen Tatum do what Ant did. Get drafted first overall to a genuine lottery team. And turn that team around into making their first playoff berth, getting to the Western Conference Finals for the first time since the Kevin Garnett era, and just making the team his own. He is the number one bona fide certified dog on the Timberwolves. And they have players. They have Cat. They have Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Mike Conley. But he is 1A alpha male. Jayson Tatum, to his benefit, was drafted, I believe, second overall, and he was plopped into probably the greatest starting position for any top 2 pick in NBA history. A team that was already consistently making playoff runs, already had a conference finals appearance under their belt with Isaiah Thomas, and he was just plopped in there, and what did they do? They kept making conference finals. They kept making finals. They kept making deep playoff runs. Jayson Tatum is a great player, If I'm starting a franchise today, right now, give me the dog. Give me Anthony Edwards.
I wish I would have went first, because now I look like I'm going to be piggybacking. Give me Ant Edwards. I just prefer his style of basketball more. Jayson Tatum idolizes Kobe Bryant. Anthony Edwards is a second coming, right? What Devin Booker wishes that he could be in terms of putting in a killer mentality. This is a guy who's never going to complain. This is a guy who's going to go out there, even when the shot's not falling, let me go lock in on defense. Let me take on the toughest assignment that I could possibly get my hands on. Even if I come up short, I'm going down swinging all the way. In his first, every milestone that you look at, right, through the first 4 seasons, Anthony Edwards, year 1, 19.3 points. Year 2, 21.3. Third year, 24.6. And now, this last year, 25.9 points. All of those at those milestones through the first 4 years, 3 of them outperformed Jayson Tatum.
And also, let's not forget, on Team USA basketball at age 22.
Yeah, I mean, he competes everywhere. I feel really bad for Jayson Tatum. He does not get the love that he deserves. This is a guy who, he's a star of the league, right? He got overshadowed by a better performance in the finals with Jalen Brown, who probably had a better playoff run than he did. But he's still a guy that I think that you can invest in, is a good star. It's just, I think it comes down to the style of player that you're looking for. I believe that Anthony Edwards is going to compete 110 out of 100 times, meaning he's going to put an even extra special effort in moments that he feels needs it. Jayson Tatum, I do feel like, ends up cruising sometimes. I do feel that Jayson Tatum gets tunnel vision in terms of, I don't necessarily need to do what the team needs to do, right? If I'm in a slump, I'm going to try and just focus on myself and getting out of there, where I would like to see him start doing what the team needs a little bit more. We saw him do it towards the end of the finals, but the beginning of the finals, it was the same old Jayson Tatum of, I'm kind of just focusing on myself, not what is really needed.
Let me get in rhythm before the rest of the team gets in rhythm, right?
So it's like, I don't want to take. I feel I'm so sick of the Jayson Tatum bashing that is coming. He's gonna be fine. It's already a decent career. It's really, really. He's an NBA champion, for crying out loud. Yes, he was. There's a toss up between 1A and 1B between him and Jaylen Brown, right? And the fact of the matter is, he just got outplayed by his teammate. It is what it is. It's not like he didn't contribute to the winning. It's not like he wasn't if you take him off that roster, they're not winning. They needed him to get there. It's just
and also just quick note, he led the Celtics in points, rebounds, and assists throughout the finals.
Yeah, so shooting percentage definitely wasn't leading though.
No.
I would like to see him actually start attacking the basket more when those shooting slumps come, instead of trying to shoot out of the slump. Like, start attacking, man. I thought I saw him do that in the finals. I thought he was fantastic with it. But Ant Edwards is just, I feel like, everything you could ask for. He's younger, just as athletic, if not more athletic, hungrier, I think. He just has this aura around him, and I want to put more stock in it. Not that I don't want stock in Jayson Tatum. I would absolutely take him if I could acquire him. But if I have the choice between the two of them, although I think Tatum is a little more proven with now this championship, I firmly believe that Anthony Edwards not only is number 1 capability, but has Jimmy Butler mindset with Kobe Bryant talent.
That is some high praise right there. And if, as we said, he's only 22 years old, so he's not even scratching the surface of the player he's going to become, and he's already this good. So I think, looks like a no contest. It's going to be Anthony Edwards for the both of us here, Mazz.
So let me just clarify, right? Jimmy is a hell of a competitor. I don't think he has Kobe's mindset, even though it is an A+ of a mindset to have. Kobe's off the charts when it comes to mindset, and when it comes to the talent, I don't think that Anthony Edwards is going to have a better career than Kobe Bryant. No disrespect to him. But even that said, I think it's going to be a phenomenal career, and he's cut from that cloth. He has that Jordan in him. He has that Kobe in him, in style of play, in the willingness to do whatever is needed. Again, we talked about it with Messi and Ronaldo earlier in this episode of just, what I prefer in a player, if I go and make a modern day player of what I want personally, it's Ant Edwards in every box.
Couldn't agree with you more.
So, Tony Millers, thank you, buddy. Anybody else? Any suggestions? You know where to hit us up at. Charlie, drop the email with it in case they want to email it to us.
mazzbads@gmail.com or mazzandbads@gmail.com. My apologies. So send some emails if you want us to talk about something. Leave a comment on our Instagrams or socials. Leave comments on YouTube, and we'll get to it because right now we touch on the news of the week, and then we just have some fun talking about a fun topic like this, you know?
That's what it is, man. Vibes, and more vibes. But, Charlie, football season's around the corner. I don't know if it's going to be vibes. I think verbal sparring is going to be coming upon us, my friend, and I cannot wait for it.
I'm with it. I think rookies reported today and for the rest of the league tomorrow for training camp. So, Mazz, we are genuinely just around the corner.
I cannot wait to be on the opposing side of you. We've been agreeing way too much during this summer, but hey, you know, when you agree, and it is what it is. I'm not forcing nothing fake, nothing pushing storylines. You know what? Speaking of which, I got one more thing. Did you see strictly for pushing storylines? I've been a fan of his for years. I know exactly what he does every time he's on a mic. The very last thing, the legendary Skip Bayless will no longer be with Fox after this contract runs out this year. 8 years he's been with them, which honestly I didn't even realize it was that long. I still remember watching First Takes, first iteration with him and Steve. Well, I guess second iteration because the first one was Cold Pizza, but him and Stephen A. was my childhood growing up. Can you imagine if he rejoins ESPN? How good of a show that would be.
Unfortunately, there was already a report from ESPN that says they're not interested in rehiring him, which I know. How magical would that have been, a Stephen A. Skip reunion?
With Shannon now in the mix? Oh, well, baby.
I think that bridge is burned between Shannon and Skip.
Yes, but if it could have worked out, bro, that would have been absolutely historic. I think I would have just had it on 24/7, honestly, because it would have been that entertaining.
He's probably just gonna take the Mike Francesa route, just start his own podcast, do his own thing weekly.
Yeah, the Le Batard got his own thing going too.
Yep.
You know, we'll see what happens with it. But you know, speaking of entertainment, we here, 5th week in the books. We're coming back next week with another one. The week after that, maybe a vacation coming, but we will absolutely pre-plan for that.
Yes,
we got
sir.
content coming at you from always. You already know what it is. All podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, what have you, YouTube. You already know what it is. Like, subscribe, comment. We need the love. We're chasing victory out here. Be a part of this journey, baby. And who knows? Maybe merch coming down the line.
I could totally go for some Mazz and Bads merch. That's next on the docket.
You know.
You have been listening to the Mazz and Bad Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.